And it's very stressful. And so I told myself, I'm taking this exam one time. It's do or die. Swim or sink. I'm doing it one time, not again. And fortunately, I passed the exam because otherwise I don't know what I would be doing right now.
Welcome to the Texas Lawyer Podcast, where we share stories for those who choose to practice law in the great state of Texas. I'm your host, Cheryl McGirr, and today we're sitting down with a lawyer who has worked in various fields throughout her career. Today we're talking with Melinda Cardenas. Hi, Melinda. How are you doing today?
I'm well, Cheryl. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and your life before practicing law.
I grew up in a border town, Laredo, Texas. Graduated, went to undergrad at St. Mary's University. From there, I went to UT Law School.
Let's talk about how you got to law school. Like, what happened in your past that made you decide, I want to be a lawyer?
That is such a good question, and I don't remember ever not wanting to be an attorney. That always has been a dream of mine since I was little. I was that rare child that I was 10 years old and coming home from fifth grade and running to the TV to catch the end of the Iran-Contra hearings. To this day, I'm still the nerd that will listen to oral argument for some cases that are heard by the U.S. Supreme Court because it just interests me. If the topic interests me, then I will, listen to oral argument for 2 hours. Mm-hmm. It always had been a dream of mine to be an attorney. I don't ever remember having a different goal in life.
Was there a big why, like this is why I want to be an attorney, that kind of pulled you into that direction?
I can't remember a specific why. I know that my parents really wanted me to be a teacher, and I did teach for several years, so I do have that back in my background. But I can't tell you there was a certain, life event where I thought being an attorney would be a good idea. It's just what I've always wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Where did you take your first steps out of law school?
In San Antonio. I worked for a small boutique firm for about 5 years. And it was a good place. I learned a lot. Your first job out of law school is always interesting. You graduate from law school thinking that you know the law, and then you start practicing and realize maybe you don't know it as well as you thought you did. Law school is good at teaching you academics, about teaching you what the law says, but not as good as teaching you how to practice law, which is very different.
So every great decision comes with a cost. What was the cost for you to go to law school? What were the things that you gave up that maybe you also kind of wanted to pursue?
Well, having the experience of going straight from high school to undergrad to law school, and always having a goal inside. There were times where maybe I wanted to go on a spring break trip with friends that I did not go to because, I had a paper waiting on the other side. And I wish I could tell you that I was one of these students that, started writing a 20-page paper the day it was assigned, but that was not me. And so, sometimes you do a cost-benefit analysis, and sometimes you do have to give up things.
Mm-hmm. So what was it like for you when you achieved that dream of becoming an attorney, getting that notification that you have passed the bar?
Oh, you know how that feels. That's a relief. Studying for the bar is a full-time job for months. That is all you do from sunup to sundown. It's a 2.5-day exam, or at least it was back then. And it's very stressful. And so I told myself, I'm taking this exam one time. It's do or die. Swim or sink. I'm doing it one time, not again. And fortunately, I passed the exam because otherwise I don't know what I would be doing right now.
I feel the same way. I was very much, when I walked out of that exam at the end of the third day, I had handwritten my exam. This was before they were really typing much.
Or computers.
And yeah, and there were some people the year that I took it that did take it on computer, but I was not one of them, and I regretted that because I felt like my right arm was about to fall off. When I walked out of the exam on the third day, it was so much writing by hand, and
I
so
took
I remember thinking, "Please God, let me have passed."
It's never again.
Yeah, please God. And so it was such a great feeling for me when I got notification. In fact, a friend called me. I don't know if you remember how you got notified, but there was a list that they put up. And so, starting about 3 days before the official date that we were supposed to be notified, we started, putting it, going to the website and looking, and just kind of refreshing throughout the day. And I was working one of my first jobs at the time, and I remember having that browser window open and just refreshing. And this is back in '04, so it was a little slow. And I got a phone call from a friend who was saying, "Congratulations, I saw that you passed the bar." And so that feeling of like, wow, I did it. And now I'm really an attorney. It's for real. I really am. All this work.
Paid off.
Yeah, and so it's such a good feeling. So you said you started in San Antonio, and how did that work out for you? Because I know you mentioned that sometimes you learn about the academia of law, but you don't necessarily learn the practicality of it. And so, how was it when you first started out? What were some of the challenges that you faced?
I had really good mentors. And the firm that I worked for had two attorneys that really took me under their wing. And so they really took the time to teach me. You draft things in law school, but it's more general. And so they really took time at the beginning to teach me just, the practical of, drafting a pleading,
Hmm.
uh, what to do once you draft it, how the best way to prepare for a deposition or to prepare for direct examination in a trial. All of I think all the stuff that we take for granted, someone taught us how to do that.
Hmm.
And for me, it was my first job. I had two mentors that really helped me hone in on those tasks.
Did you get opportunities, or how long was it before you got an opportunity to be in the courtroom yourself?
I want to say it was probably a year or two. I mean, I graduated from law school in 2000, so it's been a while. But
Yeah.
I want to say it was a year or two.
Yeah, so
Um,
you were in the back, you were the one drafting and learning and redrafting and preparing. Tell me about some of your early wins.
some of my early wins, I remember we did a case. It was a medical malpractice. We represented a family that had lost a young girl. She had presented with some very disturbing signs. It turned out she had an ectopic pregnancy that the emergency room doctor did not diagnose. And unfortunately, she lost her life when they sent her home. And so I remember helping with that medical malpractice suit. And that was fulfilling to try to help this family that had lost this young girl. It was hard, but you do what you can to help. That's the one that sticks out. We did some broker dealer mediations. I remember having to travel to Houston for those and being successful. But, Cheryl, I've always said it's a little bit more fulfilling when you're helping a person as opposed to a large corporation.
Yeah, I agree.
But you also lose more sleep, I think, when there's a personal client that you're helping, as opposed to when people are just fighting over money. You still do your best because you always want to be successful. You always want to be victorious, but it just kind of tugs at the heartstrings more when you are, sitting in front of someone that's suffering emotionally for one reason or another.
Were there some turns in your career that were unexpected?
I think when I had my first child, I thought that this was 2004, I thought that I would find a balance between work and being a mom. And after a year of trying to balance both, realizing that was not the best choice for our family. And so my husband and I decided that I would stay home for a while.
And so you took a break from law for a few years. Tell us some of the things that you still managed to use your education for.
Well,
in
I
the
did
interim.
to do a little bit of contract work at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So that was nice. But as my kids got older, that got a little bit harder. It's a little bit hard I found it a little bit hard to practice law with 3 kids. We homeschooled for many years, and so that kind of also took a lot of time, but very rewarding. I don't regret that at all. I think that was probably the time that my kids will remember more in a positive sense. We did a lot of traveling. And, I have 3 boys and they're very close. And I think that's why. And they're older now and going their separate ways where, the path that God has chosen for them is different for all 3, but they remain very close. And I think because we homeschooled. And so they did a lot of things together. They were each other's best friends for a long time.
When did you make the decision to come back into law?
Oddly enough, during COVID, it was May of 2000 that the initial plan was to come back just part-time. The kids were back in school. I had more time on my hands. And so, my husband Gabriel and I prayed about it, and we thought this was an opportunity that God had presented for me to walk through. And so that was the plan. But as you know, part-time changed.
Yeah. So I had the opportunity you work with me. And so we have the opportunity to work together, and it did start off very, very part-time. And of course it was COVID too. So things were going at a much different pace when we started working together. It was, things still happened, but everything was kind of, I think of it like when those races, like I guess F1, where they have or NASCAR, where they go around and around, but then they have certain laps where they have to, like, nobody can change position and they have to kind of slow down. It's like they threw a bunch of those laps into the process that really slowed down how we prosecuted cases for a
You
couple of
remember,
years.
I started May of 2000, and you tried a case May of 2000 over Zoom, which to me was just unheard of, to cross-examine a witness, over the internet is just, I don't know, so different. But you were successful, so good job.
Yeah, that was a lot of angst in that because I had never done that before, but that case had been pending for a long time, and the judge did not want to put it off. She wanted to get us to a final hearing, and we were able to be successful, but very challenging. And some things that have stuck with us, right, that have come left over from COVID. Having a Zoom hearing prior to that, having a virtual hearing was practically unheard of in the jurisdictions we practiced in. And now, even now, some of the courts will be happy to do a Zoom hearing or a Teams hearing, whatever the platform they want to use, to hear a matter, especially if it's a non-evidentiary matter and it's just making a legal argument. And so that's one good thing that's come out of COVID.
It saves time.
It saves us an hour and a half of driving time to the courthouse to make a 15-minute legal argument. So there are, taking lemons, making lemonade. I find that sometimes that's what lawyers are having to do. We're having to take lemons and make lemonade.
Yeah, nobody talks to an attorney at the high point of their life. It's always because something has gone wrong. So we're trying to help them in one way or another.
Yeah. How do you see yourself growing and evolving as a lawyer over the next decade?
Um, well, I feel like we are litigating more than we were, 3 or 4 years ago. And so I do feel like we are growing in that aspect. We are entering new areas of the law that we hadn't practiced before. So it's, fortunately, I love learning. And so it's learning a whole new area of the law sometimes. But I think that's what keeps it from getting dull.
Yeah, I agree. Learning the new areas of the law, but some things don't change. The rules of courtroom procedure don't change. They stay the same, and how you present the case and how you manage your time in the courtroom. Those things are consistent. So it does allow us to pivot. That's one thing I've always done. I've practiced mostly family law, and occasionally had a civil case thrown in. I've done property cases, probate cases, guardianship cases.
Don't forget criminal.
Yes, some criminal cases as well. And but the skills you learn in the trial as a trial lawyer, which is for me is the fun part. I always tell clients is like, you know what, if we end up in the courtroom, it's going to be really stressful for you, but it'll be stressful for me, but it will be fun for me too, because once you've developed that skill, getting to utilize it is what you want to do. It's like I did not expect to spend as much time in front of my computer as I have as an attorney. That wasn't what I anticipated. But that is what the practice of law is a lot. It's researching, preparation, and making sure that you have the right law, the right rules, the right facts that you can present in a timely and efficient manner to the judge. It's challenging to try these cases in
And
short
I
time
think part
frames.
of being successful is the prep work, is making sure that you have everything ready by the time that trial date comes.
Yeah, it's a challenge, and I something I say all the time is everything takes longer than you think it will, and so we keep backing up. We have to trial prep earlier and earlier because as we learn more, we just keep realizing, yeah, some things you can't cut time on, you can't cut corners on. You just have to do the prep work that's required to achieve the goal for your client. Well, what advice would you give someone who's interested in becoming an attorney?
I would advise them to just go in with their eyes wide open. I think I was very idealistic when I was younger. And I joke around with my friends that I don't think I could have done family law in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, definitely, it definitely would have been harder. And I think that when I was younger, I had this very black and white view of the world. And so I would tell people just if you think you have an interest in it, try to intern somewhere because you're either going to love it or hate it. Some of us love it. Some of us love that there are no two cases that are exactly alike, so there's never a dull moment. But as a mom, it is definitely challenging to balance everything in life. And fortunately, I was blessed with being able to stay home, but I marvel at other attorneys that did balance it all. I know my limitations, but some people do it all. And I always say, there are 24 hours in a day. And so you have to be very intentional of where you spend your time and how you spend your time. And I have been blessed that I'm now at a point in my life that I can enjoy my job and enjoy my family. And, I praise God for that because I believe that He brought me here. And so thank you.
Mm-hmm. I am so glad that you are part of our firm and that you recently took a small leave of absence, and I missed you while you were gone. It was much quieter in the office, and just being able to share thoughts. One thing I really love about our practice, and especially practicing with you, is how we can just noodle on things together. We can just say, well, let's talk about this. Is that really going to be the best way to go? And I think that adds depth and dimension to our representation for our clients. And so I appreciate that.
I think that's what keeps the job fun, is being able to bounce ideas. Well, we could do this. We could argue this. We could go down this path. And what is our strongest argument?
Yeah.
And I think that just, I think it would be hard to do it by yourself because you don't have anybody to challenge your ideas.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I agree very much. Well, I want to thank Melinda for being with us today here at the Texas Lawyer Podcast. And with that, we're adjourned. What's your biggest takeaway? Let us know in the comments below. Please leave a review, like, subscribe, and share us with your friends. Thanks so much.